Honorable Financial Secretary Paul Chen, Mr. Tanya Bo, Madam Mary Shapiro, Mr. Sun Yu, Madam Luan Lin, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Hong Kong Green Finance Association, I'd like to extend my warmest welcome to all of you for attending the 7th Annual Forum of Hong Kong GFA. I heard from my colleague that 1,500 people have registered for this event. So we got like 500 people this morning and this afternoon in the room, and probably 1,000 people online. And we're also broadcasting this to the GBA and globally. So this is one of the largest GFA gatherings since our inception in 2018. Over the past few years, Hong Kong made tremendous progress towards developing a global green finance hub. With strong government leadership, Hong Kong has become one of the largest and most dynamic green finance markets in Asia and has innovated a range of green finance products, including green loans, green bonds, sustainability-linked products, ESG products, carbon credits, and the world's first tokenized retail green bond. More importantly, Hong Kong has been the front runner in adopting sustainability disclosure standards fully aligned with ISSB, and recently Hong Kong launched its Green Finance Taxonomy, which aligns closely with the China-EU-led Common Ground Taxonomy, or CGT. Hong Kong has not only been dynamic in product innovation, but is also a leading player in driving global interoperability in sustainable finance. It demonstrates the way that the disclosure and taxonomy can be used as a connection between different markets. In particular, Hong Kong's adoption of ISSB, I think, will have a major impact on mainland adoption because it really shows how companies and financial institutions can produce the information that's needed for sustainable finance in the market. And also, Hong Kong's CGT-based taxonomy is cited very often by the IPSF Taxonomy Working Group, which I co-chair, which really means that a lot of other economies are learning from the Hong Kong approach of using a taxonomy that's interoperable with other major markets. In all these areas, Hong Kong GFA and its members have made the important contributions. As of now, Hong Kong GFA has developed a membership of 160 organizations, including all major financial firms that offer green finance products and services in Hong Kong. Over the past year, Hong Kong GFA has organized and supported over 100 events around 4 major themes: developing credible transition plan, which is expertise of GFANS, implementation of standards, including disclosure requirements and taxonomies, promotion of green tech innovation. Early this year, Mr. Paul Chen, you attended our Green Tech Summit, which Hong Kong GFA has supported, and the facilitation of regional international dialogue on standards and connectivity between markets. These 100+ events make us one of the most dynamic and active green finance associations in the world. In the area of capacity building, Hong Kong GFA continues to support training of professionals in sustainable finance through various programs in English and in Mandarin. Our joint program with Hong Kong UST and Hong Kong FSI, our eligible program under the government subsidy program. It's called Pilot Green and Sustainable Finance Capacity Building Support Scheme, and we have certified 350 professionals to date under our program. Additionally, the Hong Kong GFA UST program is recognized under the HKMA Enhanced Competence Framework on Green and Sustainable Finance. In terms of research and policy advocacy, Hong Kong GFA has organized many projects and discussions on topics such as operationalizing Common Ground Taxonomy, which is led by Chao Ni, developing credible transition plans, promoting green tech innovation, and leading discussions on voluntary carbon markets, nature, and biodiversity. A preview of Hong Kong GFA report on green tech landscape will be published today in the conference. Over the past year, Hong Kong GFA has taken initiatives to explore new areas of regional and global cooperation with impact beyond Hong Kong. For example, at the end of last year, GFA joined the Capacity Building Alliance of Sustainable Investment, which is also called CASI, as a member, and has also supported CASI's Hong Kong Forum in June this year, which attracted 300 participants from 20 jurisdictions in Asia. In August, GFA co-hosted with CASI a seminar on connectivity of Asian voluntary carbon markets, which will likely lead to some sort of mechanism on regular policy dialogue on driving convergence of voluntary carbon markets in Asia. More recently, GFA has joined the Global Capacity Building Coalition chaired by Madam Mary Shapiro, which will enable us to disseminate our training materials to a larger audience globally and to utilize GFAN's expertise on transition planning for financial institutions capacity building in Hong Kong and in mainland China. Looking forward and building on regional and global trends of sustainable finance development, I believe Hong Kong GFA could devote more resources and play a bigger role in driving a number of changes, including the following three. Number one, assisting Hong Kong regulators in adopting ISSB disclosure standards and taxonomy. There are many capacity challenges in adopting disclosure standards. I think areas such as carbon accounting, especially scope 3, is difficult. The climate risk analysis, which is, I think, mandatory for a lot of banks, is also difficult. And transition planning, I guess, is more difficult. And that's why we need a lot of capacity building efforts, which can be organized by GFA along with many other organizations here. And also, in terms of taxonomy, we have the taxonomy already published by Hong Kong Monetary Authority, but we need to push for usage or adoption, which means that we need to think about how to utilize the taxonomy to label financial products, to advance reporting of green assets, and also to allocate incentive for those financial institutions which are doing well in green finance. So in all these areas, I think GFA can play a role in organizing capacity building and also facilitating dialogue between regulators and market participants. Second, promoting transition finance. Transition finance, in my view, represents the most important trend of global sustainable finance market development, especially Asia, when carbon intensity is very high. In mainland China, as I said actually 2 days ago during the GFAN's launch meeting, many local governments have developed their own transition finance taxonomy. In fact, 22 local governments in China, including cities and provinces, published their taxonomies, guidelines, and principles, including those from Shanghai, from Huzhou, from Chongqing, from Guangdong, Tianjin, Hebei. And I think this trend can be a good reference for Hong Kong, which I think needs to work on a transition taxonomy, which could be part of the sustainable finance taxonomy, and also using the taxonomy to guide flow of private sector capital towards transition activities. And also recently, the PBOC has started a pilot program using the national taxonomy, which I think the PBOC representative will speak about in pilot cities in China. So national taxonomy is also ready within China, although it's only on the pilot scheme for now. In the rest of the region, Singapore has also introduced its transition taxonomy. So I believe Hong Kong could consider adopting a subset of the Chinese taxonomy pathways and move quickly in developing transition finance guideline that incorporates global best practices to encourage private sector participation in transition. And GFA will stand ready to assist in this effort. Number three, enhancing connectivity of voluntary carbon markets in Asia. As I said earlier, GFA hosted a seminar recently on voluntary carbon market in Asia, and we brought in representatives from mainland China, from India, from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from Thailand, Vietnam, and of course, from Hong Kong and Singapore. And during the discussion, what we found is that a lot of these voluntary carbon markets are facing the same set of problems, including their standards are not recognized by international investors. And many international investors feel that the standards and products are not transparent enough, and also they have very little liquidity. Plus, the policymakers have not a very clear view on how to regulate cross-border transactions, especially how to align with Article 6 of Paris Agreement. So without addressing these issues, I think Asian VCMs will likely to remain very small and illiquid and unable to deliver the necessary role of driving decarbonization. My view is that a mechanism such as the Asian VCM working group needs to be set up, and possibly with support from MDB to help advance the development of Asian voluntary carbon markets, at least in 3 areas. Number one, enhancing capacity of the Asian VCM operators. Number 2, improving the alignment with global standards such as ICVCM's core carbon principle. And number 3, help regulators in different Asian markets to clarify the cross-border transaction rules on carbon credits. So Hong Kong, being an international finance hub, I think is in a very good position to facilitate this kind of regional dialogue and potentially driving a mechanism for cooperation in the region. I know many of you in the finance sector focused on your attention to the stock markets in the last few days, which went up so much and also, I think, with a lot of volatility. But do not let this distract your attention away from sustainability. I strongly believe that in the medium long term, there's only 2 mega trends which will shape our financial industry. One is sustainability. The second one is digitization. And we can combine sustainability and digital application both in green and small finance. Hong Kong GFA stands ready to build a strong partnership between the private sector and public sector to drive product innovation, to enhance capacity for the industry, and to facilitate sustainable finance transactions. So I hope all members of the GFA will actively participate in our working group, workstream events, and contribute your knowledge and expertise. Let me thank the sponsors of our event, including Bank of China Hong Kong, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, PwC, Moody's, MSCI, Natixis, SocGen, Sustainable Fitch, and of course, thank you all of you who are in this room and online watching us for attending our annual forum today. And thank you again for your continued support for Hong Kong GFA. I wish today's event a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ma. Now it's my great pleasure to welcome the Honourable Mr. Paul Chan Mo-po, Financial Secretary of the Government of the HKSAR, to deliver opening remarks. Mr. Chan, please take the stage.
Director General Tan Yabo, Dr. Ma, Mary, Sally, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great pleasure to join you for the 7th edition of this annual flagship forum, organized by the Hong Kong Green Finance Association. It is particularly timely and important for us together to discuss and explore how we can work together to finance Asia's net zero transition. Speaking to such a distinguished audience, I need not convince you of the urgency to tackle climate change collaboratively. Nonetheless, 2 facts from the World Meteorological Organization serve as a stark reminders of the clear and present danger of climate change to Asia. First, 2023 was the hottest year on record. Second, Asia is warming faster than the global average. And last year, it remained the world's most disaster-hit region due to weather, climate, and water-related hazards. Globally, as countries and regions set targets to achieve carbon neutrality, green investments have been rising. Meanwhile, transition finance is also gaining importance. In addition to investing in green initiatives, the global community has now recognized the need to assist high-emission and heavily polluting sectors in their journey to becoming sustainable. This involves providing financial and technological resources to help them increase energy efficiency, upgrade production technologies, invest in green initiatives, and ultimately achieve net zero emissions. This transition is not without challenges. Reducing carbon emissions in various industries is costly. Consulting firm McKinsey, for example, has estimated that achieving low carbon transition requires an average spending of $9.2 trillion annually on physical assets from the year 2021 to 2050. And there is a significant shortfall of $3.5 trillion per year. Given the substantial scale of transition investment, there is broad international consensus to mobilize private capital to help finance them. For example, the European Commission has stated that a significant portion of investment needed to meet the EU's climate goals must originate from the private sectors. And similarly, IMF forecast that for emerging economies, about 80% of the necessary investment in climate mitigation measures by 2030 should come from private entities. However, in contrast to these projections, private sector investors have not allocated as much capital as necessary to the relevant sectors. ESG investing, a commonly used asset allocation strategy, often excludes high emission and heavily polluting industries. A study of 300 institutional investors in Europe, North America, and Asia Pacific this year suggests that only 37% of investors allocating funds to transitioning companies, with an additional 26% planning such allocation in the next 2 years. Obviously, there are insufficient funds to bridge the gap. Another challenge for transition finance is transition washing. While we are familiar with greenwashing, in the context of transition activities, there may be additional complexity, particularly in defining what actually constitutes becoming sustainable. It is also crucial to ensure that funds are used to financing legitimate decarbonization initiatives rather than prolonging unsustainable practices. Ladies and gentlemen, while the challenges in transition finance may sound daunting, they also present unique business opportunities. For Hong Kong, first, we can position ourselves as Asia's leading transition finance hub. With concerted efforts from the government and the industry, Hong Kong has made significant strides in the space of green and sustainable finance. We stand as Asia's leading green finance hub, as alluded to earlier by Dr. Ma. Over the past few years, we issue on average over $63 billion in green bonds and debts annually. The number of ESG funds authorized by our Securities and Futures Commission has been on the rise as well. As of June this year, there were over 230 such funds, managing assets exceeding $160 billion, representing a 60% growth compared to 3 years ago. That means Hong Kong already has a very strong foundation to develop transition finance market, including a robust regulatory framework, the necessary financial infrastructure, a well-developed market, and expertise on standard setting and compliance. What we need now is to raise the awareness of the necessity of transition finance and the potential it offers. We are pressing ahead. For example, in my budget this year, we extended the Green and Sustainable Finance Grant Scheme to 2027 to incentivize the use of Hong Kong as a transition financing platform. The scheme has been expanded to cover transition bonds and loans. On green standard setting, we participate in the global efforts in developing taxonomies to delineate permissible activities. This framework serves as an universal language among investors, issuers, policymakers, and other stakeholders to combat greenwashing as well as transition washing. In May this year, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority published the Hong Kong Taxonomy for Sustainable Finance, aiming to facilitate informed investment decisions on green and sustainable finance, and thereby scaling up relevant investments. Our taxonomy was devised to be compatible with two mainstream taxonomies, the mainland and the EU. Currently, the Hong Kong MA is developing the next phase of the taxonomy to include transition activities. It is our plan to conduct a public consultation on this in early 2025. Our efforts will contribute to the global development and consensus building on transition taxonomy. Improving sustainability disclosure at the company level will enable investors to assess whether and how companies have met their environmental and sustainability commitments. In March this year, the government issued a statement which sets out our vision to be among the first jurisdictions to align our local sustainability disclosure requirements with the standards set by the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB. In this regard, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange also announced in April that it would implement amended listing rule with new climate requirements starting in 2025. Moreover, in September, the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants released an exposure draft on the financial reporting standards on sustainability disclosures, which will assist investors in obtaining more reliable ESG information about companies. Finally, on voluntary carbon market, it plays a significant role in facilitating transition finance. In my view, it not only encourages environmental responsibility, but will also foster cross-boundary collaboration in investment in clean energy and other carbon emissions solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, from where we stand, I feel optimistic about Hong Kong can achieve in transition finance. However, we need your insightful ideas on what we may do more and better. And this will make this forum all the more inspiring and meaningful. I wish you all a fruitful and rewarding forum and the best of health and business in the time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chan. Would you please remain on stage while we take a first of our group photos? And for that, I'd like to please invite Dr. Ma to the stage and also Mr. Tan Yabo, Deputy Director General, Economic Affairs Department of the Liaison Office of the Central People's Government in the HKSAR. Gentlemen, please. Smile, please, for the cameras. And now towards the back. Thank you. Thank you. Please also just remain where you are, as I'd now like to invite the HKGFA Executive Committee members and Secretariat representatives to join on stage to take one more group photo, please. now for the photos at the back. Thank you all very much.